Hello and welcome to ILTV's Elections Arena. I'm Aaron Porras, and today in the ring, Likud leadership primaries are delayed ahead of the deadline to form a coalition Wednesday at midnight. And meanwhile, the High Court is pressuring Attorney General Avichai Mandelblit to rule on whether Prime Minister Netanyahu can run at all should third elections be called. Joining us to discuss is Colonel in the Reserves and former Knesset candidate for Israel Beitenu, Olivier Rafovitz, and international Likud spokesperson and former Likud Knesset member, Golan. Thank you both so much for being with us today, this week on the Elections Arena. Now, to begin, Israeli politicians have less than 36 hours now to name a prime minister-elect with at least 61 supporting votes. And in efforts to shift focus back towards negotiations, the Likud has announced that it will be canceling its leadership primaries until after third elections are officially called.
אז זה ברור לצערי שהם לא רוצים להקים ממשלת אחדות לאומית רחבה, ממשלה שיש לה הזדמנות היסטורית להשיג הסכם הגנה עם ארצות הברית ולהכיל את הריבונות הישראלית על חלקים נרחבים מיהודה ושומרון. זה מה שהם מסרבים לו וזה מה שהם מנסים להסתיר מעיני הציבור. אני קורא להם להתעשת, אפשר לעשות מאמץ אחרון, ואני חושב שגם אביגדור ליברמן צריך לעשות מאמץ אחרון. צריך למנוע את הבחירות המיותרות האלה ולהקים ממשלה לאומית חזקה למדינת ישראל.
All right, but aside from the strong rhetoric calling for compromise, none of the leading party chiefs seem willing to actually sit down and negotiate, and that brings us to today. So, Mai, let's start with you. Do you see something actually coming together in the next 36 hours?
Look, I'm going to be very honest about it. I don't see Benny Gantz or the person who actually, tell what Benny Gantz to do, Yair Lapid, sitting down with Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime minister for the last decade, and wanting to form a government because they don't want to. They want him out. They want to rule out the more than 2.5 million people who actually voted for the prime minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, to be the prime minister. Therefore, Prime Minister and the spokespeople for the Likud are saying the truth. The only way to actually form a government and to avoid a horrible third election that will cost so much money to the public society in Israel and will actually cause a trauma to the Israeli society, knowing that we're going, for a very dangerous president to the country, is Lieberman. And you know what? I'm going to use this platform, as I use the rest of the platforms that I was interviewing to call Lieberman to come back home, to come back to the right-wing camp, because that's where he belongs. And another sentence, just to say, I know that Lieberman has issues with the Prime Minister. I don't know what kind of deal he has with Yair Lapid, but he should remember that the majority of his voters, and I bet that the person that's sitting with me here will tell the same thing. There are right-wing people, and right-wing doesn't mean that everything is okay to take the Prime Minister out.
So Olivier, how do you respond to that? How do you think that Lieberman, coming from the Israel Beitenu party, should be responding to this crisis?
First of all, it's a general crisis. It's not a Lieberman crisis, it's a Netanyahu crisis, it's a Benny Gantz crisis, it's Israeli political crisis. Yeah. Of course, it's very clear, and I respect very well the point of view of my friend here on the table, that she will accuse the other side. And it's normal. We're in politics. We're not in a baby game. But it's more complicated. It's more complicated, and I believe that we also talk about ideology. Not only personal issues. It's simple to talk about it.
So let's talk ideology, though, because right now...
Hold on. So I think that until it's finished, it's not finished. And now it's not time to blame. Now it's still time to talk, to negotiate, to check possibilities. And between you and me, and I think that also, till tomorrow night, midnight, there are still a lot of talks. Many of them are not visible to the press, but they still exist. Why? Because the right, left, Lieberman, everybody don't want new elections. It's not simple to make something happen, but it's still possible. I'm optimistic by definition, by nature. I don't say it's simple. And it's not between Lieberman and all the issues with Netanyahu. It's more complicated. Even just one point.
But many critics have pointed to Lieberman.
Mr. Netanyahu just mentioned the security agreement with America about the military issues. The IDF doesn't want such an agreement. It's a new issue. coming on the table. It's maybe very nice, but it's not what we really want for the Israeli military interests. So also from the Likud side, from Netanyahu's side himself, there's some kind of confusion about why this government should come now. So I think that still time to negotiate, behind the table, under the table, close to the table, on wait and see.
Okay, but if it's a question of third elections or choosing left or right, do you think Lieberman will make that choice?
Lieberman has 8 mandates, 8 seats at the Knesset. People call him the kingmaker. I think it's not a nice way to call someone who has been elected with 8 seats. He's part of the Knesset. He has also his own agenda.
But the point remains that he has the deciding vote here.
He has his own agenda, but he has also people who have voted for him and want him to go in some direction. If the Likud itself, is able to go with Lieberman and with Benny Gantz for general large coalition, it's good. What we don't understand from the very beginning, I'm telling you, is this political, technical bloc with the Haredi parties. I don't know.
Can the Haredi parties give Lieberman what he wants or compromise enough to bring him home, as you said?
So let's be honest and let's say the truth. With all due respect, it's not complicated at all. I'm sorry. It's very simple. Because even Lieberman knows that everything regarding the Haredim and the drafting issues could have been solved. To be honest, it was solved. Lieberman couldn't care less about it. It's a whole different thing, and I'm sorry to say that. It's personal, hateful agenda. And Lieberman must remember, I don't know, kingmaker, not kingmaker, I don't agree with that, by the way. But he should remember that, listen, at that point he doesn't care. He's very well embraced by the media. He's the center of attention. Everyone is talking about him. He knows he's the one to be able to either make or break this deal. But Let's be very clear.
What deal?
Let's be very clear.
Deal?
No, I didn't bother you.
What deal?
I'm telling you, deal of the government. Form a government or not form a government.
Yeah, but the issue is which government we talk about.
I didn't interrupt.
Okay, sorry.
I want to finish my sentence. In the end of the day, if Lieberman goes out to this party, and I don't know, if he watches or not watches, but if anyone that votes Lieberman will see that, Lieberman is now riding on hateful towards the Haredim. This is not a platform. This is not an agenda. This is a hateful agenda towards the Haredim.
I disagree.
One second. Let's be clear.
No.
There is no one like Lieberman, that has been in wider, stronger connection with the Haredim.
Correct.
No one like him. We can see Deri, we can see Moshe Leon, the mayor of Jerusalem, which he appointed against the secular nominee.
So why do you think he made this 180?
I will tell you why. Because he has a pact with Yair Lapid to take to take Benjamin Netanyahu out. And he should remember that the basic of his voters are right-wing people, and they will not forgive him for taking us to a third elections.
I'm still surprised, and I respect very much, again, my friend on the table. They think there is a kind of conspiration against Netanyahu, Lapid, and secretly with Lieberman. It's not true.
So there's no deal between Lapid and Lieberman?
It's not true at all.
No agreement, no side deals,
no deal, no sub-deal, no third deal, no deal at all. Now, let's face the reality right now. The reality is that Likud party, with Netanyahu as a leader, was not able to form a government for the second time. It's not because of Lapid, not because of Lieberman. It's because of the Likud himself and because of the leadership of Netanyahu himself. I'm not Likud member. I'm not part of the internal wars between Netanyahu and the other guys, but there is a problem at the Likud. The problem in the right-wing parties. They are not capable by themselves, like before, to form a government.
Because
because they are not capable to do it, they blame the other ones.
He lied
They have
to
to blame
voters.
themselves.
He lied and pretended to be right-wing, which he's not.
They have to blame themselves in order to find a solution.
No, we don't. We are the majority. We have 55. We have the bloc of 50.
You are not.
Excuse me. We are the majority. We have a bloc of 55 seats in the Knesset.
But it's not enough
no one in the government has more than we. That's a fact. That's a fact.
It's a nice number, but it's not enough.
1 second. We trusted that Lieberman like the last years, would be right-wing. But the matter of the fact is that he lied to his voters. He
Come
wouldn't
on, you
sit,
incorporated
he wouldn't
Mr.
sit,
Kahlan in the
wait,
Likud.
he wouldn't
He's
sit
left.
something
Hold on.
else.
Oh, come on.
He wouldn't sit with the
if we now-
Arabs, right? He wouldn't sit with the Arabs, but he
Of
has
course
a
not.
problem to sit with the Haredim. Come on, it's fake, it's lies, it's all personal agenda.
So what do you think will happen if we end up going to a third election? Will
Well,
Lieberman
first of
get
all-
his way in a way? Will he be strengthened, or do you think he'll be, punished by
First
the
of all,
electorate?
I really hope that we won't. I really, really hope that we
I
won't
think
go
we're
to
all
a
in
third
agreement
election.
there.
I hope that Lieberman will wake up and towards the last hours will realize that taking the government and the country to a third election is a disaster for everyone. But if we will, I can sit here and vouch for the fact that Lieberman will lose seats because his people will not forgive him for taking this country to a third election. And
Listen.
may I remind, I've been saying that again and again and again. Lieberman in the end won't get votes from the lefties. He won't get votes from people who this is a niche thing. This is an air thing to hate the Haredim now. It's not something that will last, okay? In the end of the day, we want a government, and the government was right-wing for the last 10 years with Lieberman, not with anyone else.
Final comment, and then we'll move on.
I'm very happy that the spokeswoman of the Likud is talking about the Lieberman party and not about the Likud, but that's something else. Maybe you have to
That's
look
the
at
question.
yourself and not to the other
I'm
side.
looking
But
all the
concerning
time.
the issue with the Haredic parties, we are not against at all, personally and generally, against Jewish religion, against Judaism. We are against the political influence of the Haredic parties within the Knesset. They want to impose.
All of a sudden.
Hold on. They want
All
to
of a sudden
impose.
now.
They want to
What a
impose
surprise.
their own agenda, where we want them to be out politics for the time being, not out the society of Israel, not outside.
So you're ruling out a sector of this country.
We are ruling
this is
out.
racism.
We are ruling.
You're
Oh,
ruling
come
out
on.
religious people.
Listen,
you're
you
ruling
want
out
us to be
Haredi
in the
people. You're ruling out the Zionist people. You're ruling out people.
You are using terrible words, and you want us
this
to
is
be
what
in the
Lieberman
government.
does. This
so
is what,
be
not the
come on.
Tzionut Dati.
Come on, be careful.
Well, unfortunately,
at least. Of
This is what he does.
Not to
Smotrich
use.
is
Unfortunately,
bad
we're
for
going to have to
him.
move on. We're going to have to move on. Moving on to our next topic. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. I know we could talk about that forever.
No problem. But I won't say one word. I
I'm
won't
sorry.
say. I would like really to be optimistic because I think that it's not over.
I think
it's not
I
over.
wish that this
I
is
think we
something
can all
both
agree on the
on
optimism that nobody
Yeah.
wants a third election,
Yeah.
but we have to move on to the second topic,
All right.
which is that with all the nastiness surrounding the investigations into the Prime Minister, Avichai Mandelblit has already made it abundantly clear that he does not want to be the final voice that forces Netanyahu out of office. The high courts now say that such is life for the Attorney General. So a deadline has been set now for December 18th, by which time Mandelblit is expected to rule on whether Netanyahu can continue running for re-election or not. So the question is setting this sort of deadline a good or a bad thing? Because, as we already know, Mandelblit sort of already suggested that there's nothing forcing Netanyahu to not be able to run.
From my side, I will be very clear and very short. The legal issues are legal issues. They shouldn't interfere in these political developments. And personally, and also as a party view, we don't want anything to be part of this democratic process because of the legal issues.
There is a law in Israel, and the law clearly states that the prime minister can remain a prime minister. We cannot hang him in the town square just because it's comfortable for us, or for the media, or for some parts of the left, parties. It won't work like that. People went out to vote for the Prime Minister Netanyahu, knowing all of this. And by the polls that we see daily in the news, the same basic voters are remaining to make Netanyahu stronger, remaining to keep wanting to vote for him in the next election. So I guess this doesn't work on the Likud voters, and they have a reason to not believe or not have enough trust in the justice system, which I have a lot to talk about, but this is not the time.
Well, Mandelbligt's, December 18th ruling, whatever it is, will that have any more strength or bite to it than his previous suggestion that there is nothing, forcing Netanyahu to step down?
You know what? I'm sure he hopes so. I'm sure the justice system and the media and the forces that are working behind what I call the deep state. But
I mean, legally speaking, does it have any more weight to it?
No, legally speaking, not at all. There is a law in Israel, and the prime minister can continue to remain a prime minister while there is a
So why petition the court to force him?
While the court is continuing, I forgot that word.
Sure. So then why petition the court? Because and there are
explain.
petitions from both sides really
Yeah.
to force a decision one way or another. Why do you think that is?
Well, from the left side, and I'm calling it the left side because for me the justice system is the left side. This side wants to somehow influence the public opinion. And how do you influence the public opinion? But before they go to choose, which it's president, there was never such a thing. Before they go to choose for the new election, they want to tell him, listen, this prime minister is corrupted. We are indicting him for this and this and that. From the other side, which is, the Likud side, the right-wing side, we want to show the public, and I'm sure that's what the prime minister wants, that we are not afraid to go to this court to prove to prove the truth. And I know, and I truly believe that the prime minister will be, clear of all injustice against him, and that's what he wants to prove and to show. And by the law, we can keep on choosing him. He can stay prime minister. That's the safety that we put in our leader.
Olivier?
Legally, she is right. She is right.
So I mean,
She is right. I mean, the law is the law. I mean, of course, many people, even within the Likud party, will use the legal issues, the legal processes to try to face Netanyahu leadership. But that's another issue. We are not involved. We don't want to be involved in the legal processes until the Court of Justice will decide, and we share here the same position.
all right, well, so there are critics, and again, I'm taking the total opposite end here. There are critics who say that even if Netanyahu is completely innocent of all charges, he should take the time to fully address these allegations and step down from government.
Yes, of course they'll want that, but that's not what the people who vote for Netanyahu want. They will want that because they want him out of government. They want to take the prime minister and the ruling of the Likud party down, and they want to do it in an undemocratic way. People went to choose, even the people that went to choose for the Jewish party, and for even some that went to choose for the Lieberman party, the ones who went to choose for the Haredim party, they knew they were voting for the prime minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, to continue to be prime minister while knowing all of this. So the people who want him out while it happens can want it all along, but that's not the law. And if the public keep accepting him the way that he is and wants him to keep lead our country, that's the public's right. No one is going to force them to choose otherwise.
One thing has to be said, even if I share most of the positions of my friend here. We have to be very careful not to go to violence in the streets because of that, and we have to be very careful on the leaders, people involved, even if there are a lot of emotions in these processes. Have to be very, very careful not to go to incitement because people are very, I would say, excited. And the role of the political leadership, right, center, but everywhere, is to try to calm down, to talk calmly, because it's very, very important.
How do you think this whole situation is going to affect the vote, should there be one in March?
Right now, according to the surveys, I mean, there will no real...
Seems like there's almost no difference, really.
No real influence on it. But it's still very soon, it's too soon. And again, I repeat nicely, let's wait until tomorrow night, midnight, because many things can still happen.
I can only support that and pray, that we won't go to a third elections. I think that something like that never happened in the history of Israel, could be very dangerous to the basic trust that the people of Israel has in their leaders. So, and I'm really hoping it won't happen. So
something else I actually want to touch on then in the last few minutes of the program is there's been a lot of talk about having a direct election for the prime ministership between Netanyahu and Gantz. How do you feel about that?
We agree in principle, but not now. We don't.
Why not now?
I will tell you, we don't want to change the rules of the game during the game.
Oh, I mean, to be fair, this game has never been played like this.
The game is still played. And there is now an issue about it. So let's now change the rules of the game.
But with no expected change.
But the issue, I would like to ask my friend here. She's a young and bright new leader of the Likud.
Thank you.
If it was not Netanyahu, but someone else,
yes,
would you accept also this?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I think that in order to prevent the fourth and the fifth and the sixth elections, because they're not
There's
my
nothing
friend
really
here,
preventing
but
that.
yeah,
That's
but a lot of people here say that we might reach the same point that we are here now, the horrible point that we are here now. Why not choosing the prime minister? Why not a direct, choosing of who do you believe in? I don't understand why Gantz and Lapid are so scared of it.
Why was that system gotten rid of in the first place then? Because most people say that it was a failed system.
Yeah, well, that's a good question, and I guess that people wanted to see, and that's my personal opinion. I'm not speaking informal of anyone, but I think people wanted to prove that the people in the list has also an impact, and we wanted to choose together. But I think it's wrong, and I think we reached a point, and I really don't think this is the middle of the game. I think this is right before the next game is starting, and in order to prevent the forward and the forward game, this is the time to do it. This will answer all of the questions. Yeah. This will stop all of the arguments between everyone. The country will actually decide who do they want the prime minister to be. What's the problem about it? This is not a dictatorship.
But we have also to decide in what kind of state legally we want to live. Because right now it is a parliamentary system. So the Knesset, the parliament, is actually ruling the country and deciding who will be prime minister, like in UK. But if we go to prime minister like a president, like in France, it's another system. It's a presidential system. So we have to choose. Maybe it's a big choose concerning the way how to rule this country. Do we go to still, or we stay in a parliamentary system, or do we go to another system, like in the USA or in France? But for that, I think we need time, we need to discuss, and we need to decide. Now it's too soon. It's like going to some emergency rules.
It's a huge mistake. For the country.
And I think
this is a crucial time to do that.
We have been there before, by the way. We have been there before once. It was not successful.
It's the only answer. It's the only answer to such, crazy situation we got ourselves in. It's not too soon. It will bring an answer. They're saying it because they will know that the prime minister will be Benjamin Netanyahu. That's all.
Even if it's nice,
it's too bad.
It won't be accepted by the Knesset right now.
Well, we shall see.
That's unfortunately a whole different question, and yes, we'll see if it even ever makes it to the Knesset. At any rate, that's all the time that we have in the elections arena today. I'd like to thank our guests, Mai Golan and Olivier Rafovitz, for joining us. And thanks to all of you at home for tuning in. Also, remember that for more news from ILTV, please follow us on Facebook, like us on Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. I'm Aaron Porras. See you next time.